Hey, folks. Aunt Pruitt here. Hope you're doing well. I'm unbelievable as always, and this is the Smartphone Photographers Community. Yeah, normally we get together every week to sit and talk about different tips and tricks that'll make you a much better smartphone photographer. But last week, no, we took that week off because of the holiday. Well, some of us took the week off. I'm not going to mention Joey Kelley, but, you know. No, we did have a brief hangout with Joey Kelley last week, just showing off some stuff for the site, and I appreciate Joey doing that. But anyway, I digress. We get together each week to talk about different tips and tricks that'll help make you a much better smartphone photographer, and we also discuss other little topics regarding photography, whether it's a new camera that's coming, new sensor information, you know, all of that nerdy, techie stuff that people just love. Tonight, joined by moderators as usual, we will start up in the north with my man, Mr. Joey Kelley. How you doing, man?
Well, 2 weeks in a row I've been here, but you two couldn't be bothered to take time away from your families to talk about important stuff like photography. Bunch of wussies.
Look here, man. I told you firsthand. I said, you know what? I ain't doing squat on the holiday. I'm not doing it.
Full disclosure, the hangout for last week that I did by myself was entirely tongue-in-cheek and a joke.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, I recorded it on Tuesday, even though I dated it for Thursday.
Yeah.
So I was actually not here.
Cheater.
What can I say? You know, I mean,
Yeah,
but
all
for the sake of comedy.
You know, it's all good because you did a good job with it. I did the little post-production on it on his behalf, and just go on over to smartphone-photographers.com and check it out. It's pretty interesting little video there from my man Joey Kelley.
I had an offline conversation with Mike Sweeney, and I didn't even tell him what it was. I said, you should watch this because I mention you. And I said, and most people have told me that I either need that I'm either funny or I need therapy.
Yes.
And he says both.
Yes.
He didn't even look at it. He just said both.
Yes, yeah.
So apparently, you know, there we are.
Yeah, I believe I told you option C as well after I looked at it.
All of the above. Check.
Yeah. But appreciate you doing that, and appreciate you joining us tonight. And so
as always, my man, I look forward to it every week.
Next up, over in Tejas, my national football broadcast update guy at the moment, Mr. Michael King. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain. Unfortunately, this is the first of the month. That means rent was due, so I just got through paying the $1,000.
Yeah.
And then the weather's been finally cooperating.
Well, is it winter down there yet? No.
Well, right now we had a high of 61, and right now it's 49.
Yeah, it's getting there.
But they say sometime during the week we might get it back up to an 80.
80 in December?
Our average high is 75.
Oh my gosh, Texas. Yeah, keep that, bro. I like my seasons here in the South.
Well, at least we do have seasons, unlike in California. All they do is just pull up the plastic trees and put a different color in there, and then put the fake snow on.
California.
Except for Sierra Nevada, Sierras. Then you have real winter, real snow. But
yeah,
where Sweeney is, all they do is just roll up the plastic plants and put out the different colored plastic plants for winter time.
Speaking of Mike Sweeney, he's not in at this time. I don't know if he'll be able to join us tonight. I hope he could join us because I really wanted to have his voice in here in addition to you guys regarding one of the conversations we'll have later on in this here hangout on air. But, you know, anyway, Mr. King, thank you for being here this evening, and Appreciate you as always.
Anytime.
All right, so let's get into this week's challenge. Well, before I even say that, in the community, not only do we discuss different tips and tricks amongst all of the community members, but we also have a weekly smartphone photography challenge, and it's themed after whatever. I mean, literally whatever. Each week we have a challenge winner, and that winner gets to pick the theme of the next challenge. So as I was saying, the challenge winner gets to pick the theme for the forthcoming challenge and share it out to the community. So this time the challenge was cropping. Now, we've talked about cropping before in the community, and at least for me, the biggest benefit that I get from cropping is I can take one photo and I can generally make that one photo into two separate photos. You know what I mean? You can have a wide landscape view out there and what have you, but there may be a specific subject in that landscape view or something else that could grab some attention, and you can just take that huge wide shot and crop it down to maybe a half, maybe a third. It just depends on the shot, and you have not one shot but two shots after your crop. So when it comes down to someone that's trying to get multiple uses for their photography work, getting more than one use out of one shot is pretty daggone good, in my opinion. But personally, I'm finally getting better with using cropping in my shots. I can't speak for you guys, but over the years, there were times when, to me, cropping meant just taking the edges in a little bit and taking the top and bottom in a little bit. Boom, it was cropped. But there's so much more to it. It's just, you can crop things a certain way. You could crop like half of someone's face down, depending on the shot, or half of someone's face off. Like, even if you look at my profile picture here on Google, this shot, I didn't shoot it that way, but it's like, I think if I turn my camera off, it can show the people watching. Let's see here. I didn't shoot it this way. I put in a crop and, pretty much cropped off my, one side of my face and most of my head to where it only gives you, just the main features of my face and just a certain part of my hand and that cigar sticking out of my mouth. Because I think it looks better that way versus just a regular headshot. It's a little more curious, a little more interesting, in my opinion. But that's all in cropping, not necessarily how you shoot the photo.
Well, I think that there's a tendency, Ant, to associate cropping with fixing a photo, meaning you got something in it that you didn't intend, so you crop it out. And although that's an important facet of cropping, that's not necessarily all you can do with it.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I think a challenge like this is so interesting, because you get to use cropping as a tool to create something out of something that you may or may not have had any originality in. So, like your headshot, for instance.
Right. And then there's another thing to think about. Cropping doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it inside of software either. I looked up the definition for it some time back, and if you want to shoot something, you can frame it a certain way before you hit that shutter, basically cropping your scene before it processes or what have you. So it's not just about using your software. It's what you're trying to. I guess it's more of the process, if you will. So. But it's been fun to play around with it.
That has evolved over time. I think cropping was a term that was thrown around very loosely, and I think there's a denotation and a connotation. The denotation is probably as you described, you working within the lens and whatnot. The connotation in today's world is that you're doing it post-shooting in software. Whatnot, and I don't think either one's necessarily wrong, but what you're talking about within the camera lens is kind of what we have now come to identify as framing the shot. you know, cutting things in and out before you take it, pre-visualizing the shot, and putting the camera where you want it, and then, if you have to, going into post and doing some cropping. Again, nothing's wrong here. It's just differences of opinion and differences of denotation versus connotation.
Indeed, indeed. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the shots that were submitted in the challenge this week. Now, if we wanted to talk about cropping and show off cropping, we needed some type of baseline to know what we're working with. So, as we mentioned in the challenge directions, if you will, submit your first/original shot, and then submit, you know, what you did far as cropping, you know, your final picture, so we could see where you came from and how you used the crop in your shot. So we should have a crap ton of photos in here, and we did. We have 39 photos that were submitted this week. So I'm going to turn on the screen share.
And may I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Google. You're making it almost impossible for iOS users to put their photos in, because there's no way to get to the events.
Oh, don't feel bad. It's Android too.
Oh, okay. Because I had to put mine in. I actually had to do everything on the camera, use AirPlay, drop it, and bring it into my Mac, and then use the Mac to put it in.
King, I've said it almost every week ad nauseum when these things go out. I say, look, y'all, just go ahead and don't even try using the mobile app. Just put it on your computer some kind of way and upload it from the website. Excuse me. Upload it from the website. It's so much easier that way.
Thank you, Google. You screwed everything up because it used to be real easy.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen now. All right.
If we don't show her out.
This one, and
yeah. By the way, I'll take credit for being the one that put in 3 photos to make it 39 instead of an even number.
Yeah, that takes talent there, man.
Oh yeah. I am awed.
Oh gosh. All right, so let's take a look at some of these shots here. Again, the theme is cropping. Let me make sure it says all, and it does. All right, there was a few that came to my mind. Now, this one is a prime example for me. And this is from, you know, my man, Mr. Jose. I'm not going to try to say his last name again, but Jose M. Close enough, right? Don't want to butcher his name. Anyway, this is, I believe he uses a Galaxy 6S Edge. And very simple shot out in a field, garden or what have you. Little morning dew, snap it. But then he crops it down and he gets the whole macro effect. Now, my concern is the first, I guess you can say I play devil's advocate or get a little cynical at times, but then I'm like, did he really just crop that down, or did he just walk up on it like that? And that brought me back to the whole definition of cropping doesn't necessarily mean taking this image right here and, you know, using the little crop tools like we normally do and cutting stuff out that way in software. You know what I'm saying? So if he did walk up on this thing and make it a crop down shot, it's totally fine. So what I've been doing, I don't know about you guys, is I've been looking right here at the dimensions of the shot. So we know this is 2048 wide, and this one was, notice it's a little bit bigger. Makes you wonder, right? Joey, thoughts?
It does. However, the file name is indicative of a edited shot.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's got a -1 after it.
Yep, it's like a sequence. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that would key in on that. Now, what's also interesting is that the edited one is larger in terms of its file size. Which tells me that he did a ton of post-processing on this.
Mm-hmm.
Or what he did was extremely intensive. Let me put it that way.
Right.
My guess, 2048 by 1152. I don't see how technically it could be bigger, more pixels, unless the 2048 by 1152 was being shrunk by Google when it was being uploaded.
See, that, like I said, that was, and this is nothing, this is not me picking on Jose or anybody that submitted shots. This was just the cynical part of my brain at the time saying, how did these people do this? And I'm sorry, I look at data all day long for my job. So the first thing I did was, what does the data say? So the data says 2048 right there. And for the next one, it says 2606. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Either way, we have two shots in comparison, one that's a lot wider and one that's cropped down to be a lot tighter. I enjoy both of these shots. I enjoy this shot even more because it gives us the whole essence of plant life, having the nice, beautiful, crisp, clarified dew on this leaf here with just the right amount of sunlight there. Even down to the fact where the sun is bleeding through this folded edge of it, so it gives it a different color of green here and here versus the rest of it, But I really, really love the detail in this shot. For me, macro photography is a bit of a challenge because I struggle with keeping a steady focus. Because you can get close enough and it's great, but if you get too close, it gets out of focus a really good bit. But if you get far away, you don't have that whole macro effect that you're trying to get. So I give a lot of credit to people that can pull these shots off and keep this clarity and crisp images the way this has. Well, other than the background here, it's not all of that crisp, but the stuff that gets my attention is the clarity with the dew on Jose's shot. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. King?
I thought it was really interesting. In fact, I voted for it. I thought it was really good. He did a nice job. Even if he did walk up to it, it's still, you can crop, as you say, you can crop by two ways, by actually getting close to it or with the camera, or you can do it in software. So either way, it came out. I like the way, but it is so crisp and you can see all the dewdrops and everything. I really like this.
All right, and what are your thoughts, Mr. Kelley?
Well, as I am looking at it, I am actually starting to believe that the tighter shot is actually a post-processing crop, not a second shot walked in.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is that I am not seeing stretching at the edges of the frame that you traditionally see on a wide-angle sensor when you get in close.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm referring to?
I do not. Enlighten me, please.
Okay. On God, I'm gonna lose my photographer cred here for a minute because I cannot think of the name. I want to say vignetting, but I don't think that's right.
Like the feathering? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about on the corners. Like for instance, if you're shooting a square brick,
mm-hmm.
and the corners are geometrically perfect when the object exists in real life. When you take the picture of it, when you get in close, in particular, the corners will be stretched and skewed because of because of the design of the lens being a wide-angle lens.
The bowing.
The curvature shot, and I believe that's called vignetting, and I may be wrong.
It's all good. I get where you're coming from now.
There is a technical term for it. I'm sorry, folks. It's escaping me. But I do not see in the corners of this shot the tighter in one, the stretching and skewing and straights that would be bent and whatnot. Right. That would be indicative of a shot that was taken extremely close up with a wide-angle lens. So I am thinking this actually is cropped. How exactly he would have added pixels to it, I don't know. That's got me confused.
It's a mystery.
He did say something about cropped in Samsung native editing app. So I'm not familiar with the Samsung native editing app, so for all I know, that's got some funky thing where it reads straight off the sensor when you want it to, and it brings in a full higher resolution image than the normal view, and that's what he went with, and did his edits on that.
That's like suggesting this thing upscales his image.
That's possible.
In fact, what he's talking about, I know on the original Windows phone that had the 20-some-odd megapixel sensor, when you left everything at full size, it's still a pretty good size file, but it doesn't put all the pixels in. But when you start zooming in, it actually will then show all the pixels. So you might be the file, by getting closer, you really are making it have more definition in it, which means that it will have more pixels.
More dense.
Right. Yeah. And that could be the same case with the Samsung phones, because they're like an 18. If it's the 6, it has like an 18, 19 megapixel camera, and I imagine on the full view, it shows quite a bit of them, but it's not like it doesn't have the definition as if, and when you crop it in, it will see it, and the software will say, okay, he's cropping, it means he wants more definition, so we'll put all the pixels into it.
By the way, I just looked up a photography site, and they simply refer to what I'm calling they call it perspective distortion.
Okay.
And the other type is pincushion, which is where the edges of the image are actually taller and not wider, and it actually looks like a pincushion type of effect. But they're just calling it a wide-angle distortion or perspective distortion.
Also, the fisheye lens, what it will do.
Yes, very similar. If you look at the extreme edges of a fisheye, you'll see the stretches and skews in the corners, and that's one of the reasons why almost every fisheye shot that you see is cropped post in some fashion or another, because the optics at the corners of the end of the lenses are almost always horrible. That's a generalization. Like all generalizations, there's obviously situations when it's not true, but in general, fisheyes, you have to. The wider the lens, the worse the distortion on the corners. So you have less usable area because you have to crop in some in order to not make people's heads look like, that Scream portrait painting there from that, that guy whose head is like 3 times longer than it should be, type of thing. But anyway, back on this shot, I absolutely love what he did. I would like to know, Jose, a little bit more about what you edited, what you tweaked. It looks to me, if I was going to do this in Snapseed, that it would probably have a contrast tweak and almost certainly a structure tweak if I was doing this in Snapseed. But I wasn't doing this in Snapseed. He was doing this in the Samsung app. So I'd be interested to see what they call it and what he did to massage the image. But like I say, I'm actually, the more I look at it, the more I'm thinking that it actually is a post-shot crop and not a walk-in crop.
Right. And as we said, either way, it's totally fine.
Yep.
Jose, very, very, very nice shot, my man. You are definitely killing it recently.
Yep.
All right. I want to pick on somebody that I hadn't picked on in a long time. Miss Kymberly McNair. She didn't give me any information, unfortunately. I think she shoots with an S3 or an S4. But what I like about this shot is how the cropping totally changes the focus of the photo that's in front of you. So this is her first photo.
By the way, you are correct that it's a Galaxy S3.
Okay. So this is the first photo.
Mm-hmm.
And her other photo is this one. All right. And for me, the first thing that I noticed with this cropping is my focus on the original shot was the sidewalk. because it's right there in the center, and it's leading my eyes all the way up the street and down to this do not enter sign. I mean, I can't look away from this sidewalk and just this leading
And the
line.
sidewalk and then the part of the parking lot, the wall,
Yeah,
that kind of catches your eye.
right.
It's almost a forced perspective shot where your eye is pulled
Tunnel.
into the center. Yeah.
It's like tunnel vision with it. But when she crops all of that out, my focus goes straight to this vehicle. So I like that. I like what she did with using a crop to change. What are you going to focus on when you look at my photo? When I give you this photo, I want you to look down the street. But when I give you this photo, I want you to look at this car. I want you to look at this home over here. I want you to notice this little van in the background. What is that little van doing? Is that the NSA or what? Just that's how my mind went with that. What are your thoughts on this, Kelley?
The NSA only uses Cadillac Escalades, so that's not the NSA.
Okay.
That's a Honda, so that's an import. So if anything, it might be the mob from somewhere else, but
or
that van is not a Honda. I mean, that's what I was pointing.
Or if someone getting ready to attack somebody.
Yeah, well, let's not go there. All right, so here's my problem with this. And it does not reflect at all on what Kymberly did here and how she cropped it and whatnot. So don't take this personally, Kymberly.
All right, let it roll.
However, isn't it always ironic? I say don't take this personally just before I'm about to insult someone's photo. Anyway,
like that makes it okay.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The second shot that she submitted, the cropped one, is significantly more artistic and whatnot because of its shading, because of the color alteration that she's done. It's a washed out grayscale image and whatnot.
Yep.
However, it is not, in my opinion, as visually interesting as the original shot. Because of what we were discussing about the sidewalk and your eye being pulled and whatnot.
I give you that.
So for my money, this shot, the original shot, is more visually interesting, not less. So to me, the crop changes the focus, but it does not make it better. It actually makes it worse. That's my opinion. We welcome yours. The other thing would be that this is one of those situations where if I was trying to take a photo of the minivan across the street and put my emphasis on that, I would have taken 6 extra steps, turned my phone vertical, and turned it slightly to the left.
Okay.
And come out with that.
Okay.
As opposed to taking the wide angle and cropping it.
Okay.
Just because I would have done it in the camera, as I was taking it, if that was my goal. On the other hand, I've been in situations where sometimes I didn't realize what I was looking for until after I was back home looking at it on a big screen. So that's one of those artistic things.
A lot too.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't feel like the crop adds anything to it. I feel like it detracts from it visually. And I think that the only reason why she cropped it, just a guess, or cropped it that extremely, was because she was coming up with a photo for the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Well, but the thing is, Joey, in my opinion, she used the crop to show that she has 2 photos in one shot.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you as far as the whole artistic thing. Because again, I do like the fact that this gives me a leading line. It makes me look down the street, even with with the extra dashes here in the street there. It just forces me to look from here and down. I guess that's considered up since my mouse is going up. But anyway, and where this one over here is more of a static shot to me. And I just went and honed in on this little vehicle, and which happens to be right on the rule of third lines too. We've talked about that before. So I mean, I give her credit for that. I get what you're saying from an artistic standpoint, but far as meeting the letter of the challenge and taking a photo and showing how a crop can give you another shot, she did it. Mr. King, your thoughts?
I like the way it is. I'm not maybe. I think it might have been one that I think if she left the color in, it would be a little better than turning it into a grayscale or black and white. But I like it because it does change your perspective to either that minivan or that whatever that's in front, the car, the vehicle, that one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I gotta disagree with you, Mike, on the color thing. This is not a bright, colorful shot to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And
it looks like a gray winter day.
Yeah, so what you gain by stripping the color out, you can increase in contrast.
That it didn't do.
Yeah, and make it more stark and whatnot, and make the minivan's gray in color, maybe even a dark green in the color shot. But then when you look at the black and white, it is honest to God black. So I mean, there's a lot of tweaking that goes on there. So I think that actually helped, my opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry, not the steamroll on your opinion, but
yeah, be quiet.
You're
Joe.
right.
Jeez.
You're right.
Carry on, Mr. King.
Now, because I do like the contrast in it, and it does kind of change your perspective to the vehicle, the vehicle in the background, and also the house across the street.
Yeah. All right, Kymberly. Good shot. I appreciate you sending that in. We'll take a look at maybe two more photos here before we get out of here, and actually before we talk to the winning shot. That is, what was it?
Yeah, we don't have to go there.
Where did it go? Whoa, dude! You IMing me during hangout. Can't do that. Did Joey just freeze? Joey must have frozen.
No, I can see you moving.
No, I just had my microphone muted, so I didn't continue to tell Mike that he was wrong.
All right, so let's go back there. There we go.
I love you like a brother, Mike. Just saying.
All right, so this is the shot that I wanted to look at, and this is one of the first shots that were submitted. This is from my good friend Chris Seam over in that Spokane, Washington area. Beautiful, beautiful area. Yep. And I don't remember. Oh, he used a Galaxy S6, and he just simply said before and after. And I like the idea because I've always had a weird fascination with these little, what are they called, concave mirrors?
It's
convex security mirror.
I've always gotten that mixed up. No,
concave, it looks like a cave. It bends in.
Mm-hmm.
Convex, it bends out.
I've always gotten it back.
Yeah, they use it for security. Plus, it looks like this is in a busy area.
For wide angles.
That also there is a lot of traffic, and you can look up to see if it's kind of hidden. You can look up to see if someone's coming around so you don't run into them.
Yep.
Yeah, and I get that, but I just like the idea of this is a regular day-to-day item that most people probably don't even notice in the day, but I like how he gets this thing cropped down and he's able to get a story out of it. You know, usually with these mirrors, it's all about, as you guys were talking about, the flow, you know, going around the corners or even sitting on a big truck. This is the kind of mirrors that they have to see what's going on around them and whatnot. But no, this is just a dead zone. These guys are just sort of standing around chilling and chatting about what have you, you know, using a quote-unquote traffic mirror to reflect on just standing still. I liked it. I really enjoyed this shot, and the fact that it's cropped in looks a lot better than that right there. I think this is a lot more engaging and interesting to look at. And this was edited inside a Snapseed vignette frame. And as he says, my coworkers and I are reviewing commissions at the police department.
That's what I thought that was. Because I've had to pick someone up at the where I used to work. He got arrested, and I had to go there and pick him up. That's what it looked like. It's in the booking area.
That's what's up. All right. So what are your thoughts on this, Mr. King? I'll let you go ahead and critique.
I like this. I like the way he did it, because it really added to it, and it was just great. You know, you see off the distance, you really can't make out what it is, and when he cropped it, you can see all the people.
Yep. Anything you'd have done differently?
Not really. I think I wouldn't have changed anything personally. I know Joey will find something to nix it about.
So you say, huh? What are your thoughts, Mr. Kelley?
Well, apparently I'm I'm filling the role of Mike Sweeney tonight.
Channeling the inner Mike Sweeney.
It's channeling the inner hater. Anyway, honestly, this was, I think, the first shot submitted.
Yep.
In the context, I think in the challenge, or was it maybe the second?
It was the first or the second. I remember seeing it very early.
I mean, it was right there, right early, and I got to tell you, I am extremely jealous of this.
Why so?
Because I have tried to shoot this, and I have never managed to pull it off.
As in the folks standing
in trying to get a
position,
decent shot out of that dang blasted style of mirror.
Or what happened?
Well, what it was, the last time I tried it, I did it with my smartphone 2 smartphones ago.
Yep.
So it was probably just too low resolution, too far away, and couldn't be cropped in and get enough out of it.
Okay.
And it may or may not have been the right point of lighting either. But what I think the other thing I missed was that if you look
you're
at
breaking up.
He sounds clear to me. Carry on.
Okay. What I like about this is that you also get the technique that he used to shoot this. Because if you look, he's doing essentially the shoot from the hip challenge. He's not looking at the camera.
Right.
He's got it down around his belly button area, and he's got it probably pre-vised roughly where it's going to be, and he's just tilted it up and aimed it and hit the shutter button with his thumb or something while he's looking up at the mirror. When I tried to do it, I tried to get the phone as close to the mirror as possible to take it, and it looks like snot on a doorknob because all you see is the phone.
Wait a minute. Did you just say snot on a doorknob?
Yes, he did.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I picked that up somewhere years ago. I have no idea where it even came from. But
man.
let's put it this way: my shot doesn't look very good.
Yeah,
Chris's shot, on the other hand,
I can't think of snot on a doorknob looking good. Appreciate it.
Exactly. That's my point. It looks horrible. The shot looks. It looks honestly like Mr. Magoo or something, or like the guy from the Pink Panther because of the jacket that I'm wearing, holding up a phone to a mirror to take a picture. It's really what it looks like because I'm looking at the phone on top of it, so you can't even see me in the picture. It's just some idiot looking at his phone pointing it up at a mirror, and it's a horrible shot. But and so, like I say, I'm jealous of what Chris has done here because he has managed to pull off something that I have tried and failed to do. So there you go. Congratulations.
Good job, Mr. Seam. Good job. All right, let's take a look at our winning photo here. And I hate we didn't get to look at all of them, but it's, we only have so much time because there are some pretty neat shots in here. So let's take a look at the winning photo here. And sheesh, boy, was it a landslide. Good grief. All right. This one comes from our man, Mr. Joey Kelley, who happens to be on air with us tonight. Surprise, surprise.
Hello,
now,
world.
Joey has what I believe is an X6, and I believe you just normally shoot it with your stock camera, correct?
Normally do, yes. Every once in a while I pull out the open camera app. But mostly what I use is the stock camera app, HDR turned on. And recently, by the way, you mentioned a comment about how you wish you'd known you'd taken a shot a little crooked. I've turned on the grid. So I now have a much better idea if I'm shooting crooked or not.
Yeah, I do that too now. I do that too also.
Mm-hmm.
This was shot with
the grid really makes a difference.
This is what this Nexus 6, and this is the original shot. And this is the cropped version. All right, so again, as we talked about earlier in this discussion tonight, Aunt Pruitt looked at the data. 2048, 2626. So, Mr. Kelley, what happened here? How did you pull this off?
Well, now I'm wondering myself how I managed to add because I swear to God, I literally just opened up Snapseed and went to work.
I think the newer phones that have a higher megapixel, when you do the full shot, it doesn't give you the absolute full resolution. As you zoom in, it will start bringing out more and more detail.
So you can keep some detail. Yeah.
Right. So I imagine it has more pixels in it, so it makes the file bigger.
Maybe that's possible. It also, well, we know the file is physically bigger because you've got edits on it, like in terms of its file size, in terms of the amount of space it takes up. But okay, so for those that are not aware, I am a train freak. I have been a train freak.
Hold on.
That's a diorama.
I just asked you how you did it. Now I want to give you my 2 cents on it.
Oh, please do.
All right. So going back to the original shot, I see this and I immediately think of either Joey Kelley or I think of Michael King. Why? Because it's a dadgum train in the shot. So I know these guys have their affinity for trains, and they're going to have a lot of train photography. But at first glance, this shot did absolutely nothing for me. My thought was, it's a train set, toy man and yada yada yada, yay. But this one here, man, this got me. Joey, this shot, it got me. I love the way that you cropped it down and gotten all of the attention on the actual scene from the train set. And I love the fact that you put this filter on it. What is that? Is that black and white? It's hard for me to tell on my monitor tonight, unfortunately.
It looks like sepia.
But it almost looks like a sepia tone. But
negative. It's 2 filters stacked on top. It's the black and white conversion in Snapseed, and then the vintage stacked on top of that.
That is a nice touch, man. I love this. I would bump contrast just a tad on here, just a little bit, because I think this black could get a little bit blacker. But overall, I love the story behind this shot. I can't change anything else on it other than giving it a little more contrast and maybe a little more, since you use Snapseed, a little more structure adjustment on it, just to try to pull out some of the details from this track in the little gravel-ish looking areas there. But this is how you do it, folks. Is you get your one shot and you just crop out all of the crap that you don't need. We did not need to see this guy here. Care less. He didn't do anything for the photo.
As a matter of fact, what he did was he destroyed the illusion.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But this right here, man, I love it. Joey, freaking beautiful. Well freaking done. Okay, so now your thoughts, Mr. King.
Of course, I wouldn't like it. The first one looked like a regular modular layout or diorama. When he cropped it and did all this stuff, it actually made it look like it's the real thing, taking a picture of a full-size train back when it was actually that is a logger. It's looked like a Shay. And
it's a Bachmann ON30 T-boiler 2-truck Shay.
Yeah, so I said I thought it was a Shay, so that means narrow gauge. For what for people who do not know, there was two different gauges. You had your full size, and then for your just like the Durango and Silverton, and a lot of your logging railroads, they were narrow gauge, and that's a narrow gauge unit, and it looked right there. It looked like something from the 30s, and it looks real instead of a layout, and I love that. It actually looks like he took a picture way back then.
Joey, he makes a good point, because that was my my original thought too, because I was glancing at this on my smartphone, and the first thing I saw was this, and then I saw that later, but glancing at it, it didn't quite compute at the time. I thought this was somewhere you had visited and was able to catch, an old man playing with a dog. It really got me like that. It struck my heart. But then I got home, looked at it on the computer, and was like, oh, this is the same set. This is just a model or what have you. But at the same time, this thing still tugs at the heart a little bit because of how you crop down on it and the point of view for this one. So props to you, my man.
Yeah, because that's a logging camp. That's modeled after
the general store and the guys and the dog and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Now, by the way, Ant, to answer to take your point about the contrast, mm-hmm. This was actually when the vintage filter was applied decontrasted.
Okay.
And the reason for that, and they allow you to play with it. So you can add the vintage coloration and the darkening of the corners and whatnot, and the slightly bluish tint without messing with the contrast. But by default, they decontrast it a little bit. And I'll tell you something. One of the reasons why this looks like an old photo is for two reasons. One, the depth of field is not extreme.
Right.
And two, it is not very contrasty. If you put any more contrast onto it, it's going to look like a modern photo trying to look old.
Okay, I give you that.
And that was deliberately done. And that's also, by the way, why it looks a little bluish, is because, trust me, I am going through and I am scanning a collection of photographs of a gentleman who started shooting black and whites in 1946, and some of the older prints, they are very much not what we have come to think of as a high contrast black and white. They are very muddy by today's standards because he was using cheap film and because because the print has degraded over the decades. And that was what this was designed to emulate. It wasn't designed to be high contrast. It wasn't designed to look perfect. It was designed to be imperfect so that you would not notice all of the other imperfections.
Of course. Well done, Mr. Kelley. All right, so with that said, bro, you have been tasked with coming up with a new challenge for us for next week's Hangout on Air. So, got to get to work.
Yeah. I got an idea, and I'm waiting for your feedback.
All right. Well, we'll definitely discuss this off air or, offline or what have you. All right. So, before we get out of here, I wanted us to have one more discussion. And the person that I want to discuss, I've already warned her that her ears are going to burn tonight because I knew we were going to talk about her. And I'm talking about Miss Toni Kresen up in Wisconsin. Speaking of Wisconsin, hey, Mr. NFL broadcast assistant guy, Michael King, what's the score?
17-0.
Dadgummit, Green Bay.
Third quarter.
Crap on a stick. Okay, sorry.
But I'm about to lose my CBS. I'm going to have to go over to NFL. The CBS and DirecTV / Uverse are fighting right now, and CBS wants them to come up.
Oh, yeah. That's okay.
So I'm about.
Hold on a minute. So, how is snot on a doorknob better than crap on a stick?
Yeah.
Hang on, let me go to. They just turned off our KHOU.
Gosh, it's all good. Anyway, I wanted to talk about Miss Toni Kresen. She's up in Wisconsin, and um, one of our cool members. She's quite active, and it's nice to see where she's quote unquote come from with her smartphone photography, and she's very open about crediting the community to helping her get better, and you can see it when you look back at her photos, and it's I know it warms my heart to see what she's been doing. Um, I want to share one of her shots, and I'm going to share it because within our community we had such a in-depth, knock down, drag out discussion about about her photo, and I'm thinking Toni was like, "Hey y'all, here's my shot. Can you tell me, what are your criticisms? Because that's what we do. We critique photos. We critique to try to help people get better at this thing." And I'm sure she just dropped it in there thinking, okay, I'm going to get a couple critiques. Okay, you could do this. You could probably try that. That was good. That wasn't so good. Yada, yada, yada. On to the next shot she goes, But no, man, we got into it. So let me find the shot here. Let's see. Toni.
Well, her exact words were, any critiques are very welcomed.
Yeah.
That's like saying, hi, I'm fat, here's a buffet.
She opened the door.
I mean, it's just, opening you up, Toni. So I hope you got what you asked for.
All right, I'm going to share my screen now. We're going to take a look at her photo. Okay, so this is her original shot, and I'm just going to give you a peek. So there it is. That's the original shot. Boom. Done. Now, let's go to the shot in question here, okay? Using her, I think she's got a new Galaxy S6, I believe. I can't remember. No, she's got the Edge Plus. Edge Plus. So, fairly new phone, fairly new features, and all of that good stuff with this performance. And it's a portrait. This is taken during the holiday season. Some families are getting together and just having quality time, so you're going to get some portrait time. And I see this shot and I see where Toni has come from, and I freaking love the shot. I think it's outstanding. She's got she put a little frame on it. I love how these little edges are, and it's sort of it's sort of worn right there. Not to mention just the filter on top of it to sort of give him sort of almost an animated appearance to it, so it's, or maybe like it's painted on. But I like the lighting on this shot. The only thing that bugged me for a second, and I say for a second, was the frame back here. I thought the picture frame was a little crooked hanging on the wall, but screw it. It's just a candid portrait shot with someone from the family, man, and his smile is outstanding. This is a real deal smile coming from him, not something that's just prepped up. I mean, down to you can see the creases around his eyes. Not. I mean, in addition to the creases in his cheeks. I mean, this is real, and I love the photo. But let's go over here at all of these comments. Notice the comments keep going. They keep going. They keep
all
going,
32 of them.
And they keep going, and they keep going. Man, everybody had some opinion of some sort on Toni's shot, and most of us really loved this photo. Most of us really loved the processing that she put on this photo. Most of us, but there's always one or two.
I love the photo.
And we're going to put the camera right on that dude that started it all. Mr. Joey Kelley says, and I quote, 2 suggestions. If it were me, I'd attempt to put the focus only on the face by slightly, and I do mean slightly, blurring everything but the face. It's an old portrait trick. Second, if anything, the face is too hard. too well lit, defined that it almost looks cartoonish. A more traditional portrait style does not put such hard edges on the face because it tends to amplify wrinkles and blemishes. HDR for a portrait is a mistake, in my humble opinion. It makes the person a little too real for most tastes. Just my thoughts. And then everybody else went nuts on Joey.
Of course, it's Joey.
So Joey,
that, by the way, culminated down here on. Let me see, who was it that went for the cheap joke? Edwin Boatswain. So in short, Mike Sweeney, Joey Kelley is wrong. So, I just absolutely love that. So now that's become like the Smart Photographers Google Plus group meme. How everything I say is wrong because Mike. Yeah, it's the irony is that Mike and I, honestly, on and off camera, there's a tremendous amount of respect there, and none of that, by the way, is done with malicious intent. None of the comments that I have brought up, none of this stuff is made with malicious intent. It's all, commentary about styles and stylistic differences.
That's
and
the good
comments.
thing about this community.
Yeah, but I stand by it. The traditional portrait, and I have been told this by many people that have made their living doing studio portraits.
Mm-hmm.
You put the nose, the eyes, and the mouth and the teeth. That is your depth of field.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Everything else is just a tweak out of focus.
Mm-hmm.
And because what people are really looking at is the face. And therefore everything else is less important and whatnot. HDR, high dynamic range, is a very new thing, relatively speaking, in photography. It's also a very digital thing. It's essentially equivalent for the old film folks of a bracket shot where you shoot one low, one what you think it should be, and one high, and then you magically digitally put them all three together, and it gets you colors and detail that you would never get any other way. The problem is that most people, when they're having a portrait done, don't want incredible detail. They do not want to see the pimple. They do not want to see the blemish. They do not want to see individual hairs and a mustache. They want to see them with looking slightly better than they actually do.
I agree with you on that. There are some people. What's funny, and I know this is not photography, but I can remember when HD televisions came out, several years ago. And I remember a lot of the folks in Hollywood, if you will, were not digging HD TVs because all of their blemishes were coming out. If that makeup wasn't done just right, it showed on that camera. And I can remember people discussing issues with their teeth on camera and all kinds of stuff because they want the masses to see them as, something a little bit larger than life and a little more perfect than you are, kind of thing. So, yeah, I totally get that perspective when people talk about portraitures and whatnot. Me, on the other hand, Mr. Kelley, I tend to love those portraits that I see that are in such high definition and high clarity. I think it gives them character. That's why I mentioned earlier when describing this shot, I know this smile is genuine because I can see these details right here on his face. Nobody can smile and say that it's genuine without having these lines right here around their eyes. It just doesn't happen. Anybody could do just a regular standard mugshot smile. Let me give me a smile for your ID kind of thing. This is a smile that is true for the moment. This is he's smiling for the camera, for his family. You know, this is real, and you could see it just from right there. At least for me, anyway. But I love seeing little details like that in some portraits. You know, I don't want to see someone's booger hanging out of their nose or anything like that. But you know what I mean.
Well, there's snot on a doorknob. Yeah, I think it boils down to goals and whatnot. I think her goal was to do, ironically, what I normally do, which is to be in the documentary style, which is to take a gritty, real image as to this is how this guy is.
Yeah.
And if that's her goal, then she's done extremely well. My only comment is that I'm still bothered by the level of detail. It's almost too real for me, and I get creeped out looking at the guy. I just, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we saw Norman Rockwell was mentioned a few times in here.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Rockwell's work?
Well, Norman Rockwell was a painter,
right?
So he wasn't a photographer. So
right.
it is not.
He took a different point of view because it's paint versus film.
Norman Rockwell was known primarily for his work that was often on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post,
mm-hmm.
that brought a slightly exaggerated moment of life to the masses.
Yep.
And when I say slightly exaggerated, it would be, you know, it would be like an idyllic scene. It would be the Thanksgiving table with everybody gathered around.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're painting something, you have a incredible amount of control over what the image shows. And also, because it's a painting, you're anticipating that the artist will put in what they want you to see, take out what they don't want you to see, and use, for lack of a better term, artistic license to tell you the story. You're expecting it to be a edited thing, so you're willing to forgive things like a little too much detail in a certain spot or a little too little detail in another spot, because they are eliminating or adding something into the painting to make it more of the story that they want to tell. If you're doing a photograph, you don't have the ability to completely control what's in the photograph outside of a studio, and outside of independently lighting it and whatnot. So I think it's just one of those things where my goal in the photograph would be different than hers. This sort of a pose, I just would not crank up the contrast and the structure and whatnot and give this person such a defined look to them. They would have a much more mild look to them if it were me, because I know that most people prefer themselves to look, like I say, slightly better than they actually do. And an HDR image cranked in like this doesn't look any better than he normally does. It looks exactly how he is, or maybe even exaggerated to the point where he actually looks worse, because again of the higher definition on the lines and the deeper wrinkles and whatnot.
Yeah.
You got that cropped more or less about the same way she does vertically.
Yeah, I tried just to see her perspective.
See, but even there, without the color tweaking and whatnot, he looks normal. Right. The laugh lines are there, but they aren't sticking out like a sore thumb. The mustache is there, but it's not, sticking right out at you. Yep. The eyes are there, but they're not sticking right out at you. When you edit it and tweak it and add the HDR and the contrast and whatnot like she's done, it really brings out all of those, which in most cases, like that leaf that we were looking at earlier with the dewdrops, you want all the detail you can possibly get to bring the person into the experience. In this particular case, I think it's just a difference of opinion as to how you want the photo to look.
Yeah. It's definitely a difference of opinion. And it's fun to see that because there's, almost 60 members in this community to date, and not everybody's going to see everything the same way. and it was nice to be able to see a candid, heartfelt discussion all over here on this comment wall between the all of the members here, because we get to see what everybody likes, what everybody does not like, in their own different perspectives and their own practices. And what works for Joey may work for me on one shot, but it may not work for me on another shot. Then again, what works for Joey may not ever work for me, and vice versa. And that's the beauty of freaking art, man. That's the beauty of this art, smartphone photography. I love it. But Toni, thank you for sharing this shot with us and allowing us to take a look at it as you shot this with your Galaxy S6 Edge. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This was a fun discussion. I laughed quite a bit at this discussion, and it's just heartwarming to not only see the discussion there, but it warms my heart to see where you are coming from with your smartphone photography.
Well, I like the comment about it's just refreshing to see someone who's not afraid of offering a differing opinion in public, and it kind of keeps people thinking. And I went, well, if everyone's just doing the same thing and never saying anything, I mean, who learns from that? Who grows from that? We grow from conflict and from input. Of course, my comment back at the same time was that you should meet me in person. You'll find that I speak my mind with regularity. I'm also divorced. Coincidence?
Come on, man. So not right.
Yeah. But true.
Mercy. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here, folks. I'm going to allow you guys to sign off and let everybody know where we can find you and your work and anything else you'd like to plug for namesake and whatnot. So we'll start with Mr. King. Are you still with us here? Or did your screen freeze up? There you are. We'll start with Mr. King there. Where can we find you, my man?
I can be found at either Michael King or Michael King 4023 on the web. Twitter, Flickr, Google Plus, Facebook, or someone calls it face crack.
You're not right. Well, it's good having you in here as always, bro. Appreciate you joining this evening.
Well, that's what he calls Facebook. It's like crack being on crack.
That's why I have a timer on every computer I own. I'm only allowed a certain number of minutes every day.
Wow. So y'all got it. Thank you again, Mr. King. All right. Next
Anytime.
up, my man, Mr. Joey Kelley. Where do we find you and all of your musings and work and everything you got going on?
The best place to start is at my website, Joey, Joey, Kelley, KELLEY.com. And from there, you'll find my photography site, my computer repair business, my Facebook, my Twitter, my blah, 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 blah. Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle.
The whole shebang, baby. The whole shebang. As usual, Mr. Kelley, thank you for joining us. And I look forward to hearing about what your next challenge will be for the community. Just be gentle on all of us. Some of us are not as talented. Some of us are not as creative, if you will.
If I know him, it'd be trains.
Nope. No, I wouldn't do that to everybody. No. I'm also not as handsome, so I have to come up with something. Yeah.
Nope, you are not as handsome. You got that right.
Oh, jeez. Wow. First Sweeney by proxy when he's not even here. Now you. Jeez.
That's the pot calling the kettle black.
So does that make him the kettle?
God. Oh, man, you guys are not right. Anyway, thank you again, Mr. Kelley. Appreciate it. All right, lastly, myself, folks, you can find me here on Google Plus if you like. Just look up Ant Pruitt. That's ANTPRUITT. Or I'm on Twitter at Ant_Pruitt. The handle should be showing right about there somewhere, eventually in processing. Ant_Pruitt. And be sure to check out our website, smartphone-photographers.com. That's smartphone-photographers.com. There you will find this hangout right here, post-process as a rerun, as well as all of our other hangouts from the last couple of years. And they're all available with different tips and tricks and subject matter. You know, we don't just talk about cropping every week. There's different discussions and different jabs at one another, you know, and different shots to come out, like Miss Toni Kresen's shot. And the site also offers up little blog posts to feature a particular member. You know, sometimes people just share shots in the community that just blows us away. And I have to get that out, you know, because the community is semi-private, and I don't want to just reshare the stuff that's in the community, because it's your photos are your photos. They're not mine. You know what I'm saying? So I asked for permission to share this out to the public, and by doing so, I will put it on the website, smartphone-photographers.com, with image credit to the author. So find us every single Thursday. Well, maybe not every single, but we try to do these on Thursdays each week at about 9 p.m. Eastern time, with a little hangout on there. So find us here on Google Plus, or find us on my YouTube channel where these things are being backed up. It's youtube.com/AntPruitt. Very easy to find. Be sure to check out all of my other content on antpruitt.com, newdomain.net, techrepublic.com, and whatever else. I don't know. No idea. It's all freelance, folks. It's all freelance. But thank you guys so much. If you're interested in joining our smartphone photographers community, feel free to contact myself or any of these guys hanging out tonight on air. We will put you through a somewhat of a background check to make sure you fit in, and we'll get you in here if you're gonna work. All right. So we'll catch you guys next week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all of the support. Be sure to click like and subscribe and share with your friends. Y'all take it easy. Peace.